What's up, Drop Pod listeners? As always, you can listen to the Drop Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Pods. We're now on Amazon Music, Audible, and Pandora as well. New episodes drop every Wednesday. You can also find all of our content on YouTube at the Drop Golf Podcast and on our socials. That's Instagram and Twitter at the Drop_pod. No matter how you consume us, like, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. Follow and listen along. Still summer, baby! Still summer. They're hitting this.
This is the Drop Podcast where we talk golfing in the Garden State. I'm Mike Poro, and this is Ryan Kulot.
What's up, everyone? Hope we had a great week. Welcome back. We got a big episode for you with an even bigger guest. Our guest this week, you guys asked for him. We brought him in. Director of Golf at Metedeconk National, Brent Studer. Brent is an absolute staple in New Jersey golf, both as a player and as a pro. He's been at Essex Fells, he's been at Manasquan, and now he's at Metedeconk as the Director of Golf, overseeing everything golf there. We chat with Brent for almost an hour, and it's just an absolutely incredible time. He's got some amazing stories. He's been around golf for forever, it seems like, going back to his high school days. It's a really fun interview, so make sure you stick around. You do not want to miss this.
I do want to add one quick thing about Brent is, like you said, I can't tell you how many people have reached out to us when we first started this about, you got to get Brent on, I said, okay, we'll work on it. We put out a poll 2 weeks ago, who's the one guest that you guys would like to see on it? Overwhelming between the responses and the texts and the DMs was Brent Studer. You asked for it, we delivered it. Enjoy that interview.
Absolutely. Mike, I know you and I both did. It was really, we've talked about how some of our interviews are just like, we talked about the college kids being super charismatic and all that stuff. Brent was just, again, it was just like two guys that were hanging out on the couch. Well, three guys hanging out on the couch, just chatting about golf. It was really super casual, super informative, interesting. I could listen to him talk all day about really anything. He's a really interesting cat, and that was an awesome interview. Mike, did you know our polos are on sale?
I did. I will say this. They are flying off the rack. And once Chris, Fluke Apparel Co. decided to drop the price for his fall sale, those things are hot. And I think this is like back to early on when we first released them and how many people jumped on it. I feel like it's similar to what's going on right now. I know for a fact inventory is low. I know for a fact all the sizes aren't in, but you better get yours now before they all disappear. And like I've said many, many times, you won't be disappointed in what you get. Period. End of story. Go buy it. Go enjoy it. Go wear it. Send us a picture. We'll share it.
Tag us. Put them out there. Yeah, they're really good. Again, as Mike said, inventory's low. We're coming down to the end here. It's late September. Polo season's coming to a close quickly. Get them while you can. Mike, another thing I don't know if you're aware of. This is episode 51. 51 straight weeks in a row we've been doing this. Next week is 52. Something else I don't know if you're aware of, there are 52 weeks in a year. Next week is one full year that we have put out an episode every Wednesday. I don't care what you say. I think that's a pretty big deal. And currently, you're my longest standing relationship that I've had with anyone in a long time. So I appreciate you being there for me.
Well, I can't lie. I'm actually surprised you've hung around with me this long.
It's been amazing. We're going to get into that all next week. But what we want to tell you is check out the Instagram on Monday. We're going to have a giveaway for our 52-week, 1-year anniversary. There's going to be a giveaway. Check out the Instagram Monday. Follow the rules. And again, just a nice little giveaway, something to say thank you to those who have been listening. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Mike, this week's going to be a big professional golf week for us. Korn Ferry Tour, as we've been talking about, we got our guys on there. That's winding down. And there's this little event called the Ryder Cup coming up. It's not very well known, but I really want to make sure that people get word on it and they can follow it, because it's really a nice event. It's really a very interesting international competition. So I'm hoping that we can kind of gain some interest in it. Maybe bring it a little bigger than it already is. But before we get to the Ryder Cup, let's talk Korn Ferry.
I mean, our guys are still in it. I mean, all three guys. I mean, I did see that Max, who is at number 8 on the points list, clinched his card for next season. So he's a lock. He gets to go play on the PGA Tour with the big boys. So he's in. Our other two guys are in right now with one tournament to go, the Tour Championship. I love how there's a week off. They get to go home, relax, re-energize their bodies, and understand that, like, hey, listen, it's kind of like do or die. And I know Ryan's sitting at number 22. Chris is sitting at number 25. I gotta think if they make the cut, they're in. I gotta think they make the cut, they're in. And I know Ryan is not playing as well as Chris is, because Ryan missed the cut again last week. And Chris, got in, I think, by 1 or 2 shots off the number. Had played a good final round. But I'm sure he was a little disappointed with where he ended up. But they are right there. And it's like one of those things, and like the analogy goes, you can taste it. You're so damn close. It's just like you're nibbling away, and then you're waiting to take that one big bite, and it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
I can see it. I can taste it. They're almost there.
They really are. And I don't know if it's the combination of this. Maybe it's a better course that we're starting to play, but the winner was only 10 under. Now, only 10 under is again, I know that's playing some golf, but we've seen scores where they've had guys that are 30 under and coming in second place this year. So you look at how good the golf can be. It's a little bit tougher, but maybe, and this is where I think we're more at, I think we're at a time in the year where, like, people are probably tired, probably grinding away, maybe a little injury-ridden, maybe a little sore, but I think the intensity is ratcheted up here, and that's part of the reason why. The intensity of, like, this is do or die time. Like, all season you got time to make it up. There's this week was 2 more. Now there's 1 more event left, and you're either going to get in or you're not. And as you said, I like to think that it's make the cut and you're in for the rest of our guys. But we'll have to see what the numbers are. Max is obviously playing some good golf. He finished 6th, solo 6th last week, 3 rounds in the 60s. 4 under for the week, and he's in. He got his notice, so good for him. But Ryan and Chris are I don't want to say on the border, but again, I'd like to think that, like, make a cut and you're good. You're getting in. I would have to think that. So hopefully that's the case. We'll have to see how that falls. But Max, congratulations to him and all his hard work. And again, now it's like, hey, congrats, enjoy it for a second. Time to gear up this winter for really what you've been looking forward to. And Chris and Ryan, good luck this next week. Obviously, we're rooting for you guys real hard. So keep up the good work, keep grinding, and make those dreams come true.
Couldn't say it any better. I got nothing to add to that. I got nothing to add to that. I mean, you said it well. I'm not recycling anything. There's no reason. Put a cherry on top of that.
All right.
Put the stamp on it, seal it, send it, go get it done.
Full send, bro.
I do need you to comment on one thing before we dive into the Ryder Cup. Is that your next topic right now?
Ryder Cup's going to be the next one.
Okay, so before we get into the Ryder Cup,
okay,
I think I'd be remiss if I didn't bring this up on the podcast, because I think, like everybody, you probably watched football yesterday. And I think like the majority of us, we're all on TikTok, we're all on Instagram, we are all over social media. And I'm sure just like a million other people, when I'm scrolling through my TikTok, all I see is Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. That's all I see. And I'd be remiss not to ask you about them and what's your take on this whole thing. Because I feel like everywhere I look, everybody's adding their 2 cents in. We might as well do the same.
Well, it was brought to my attention before you actually told me. Someone asked me if I was a Swiftie as I'm reposting all of our drop podcasts on like my personal account there. And then I was like, no. And I go back and look and I noticed we got a lot of Taylor Swift songs on there. And someone brought it to my attention and I was like, oh, I guess we do. So I asked you, and you're apparently a big fan of Taylor Swift. I like Taylor Swift. I wouldn't call myself a Swiftie. I don't know all of her story because I'm not big into like that kind of gossip or that, the re-release of the Red album or any, I don't know. I'm not even going to pretend like I know because I don't know it that well. But I will say, I love the Kelce brothers. Their podcast is hilarious. Travis Kelce is a dude I would love to hang out with. He just seems like a whole lot of fun. And I like that he shot his shot. Sent her a DM, saw her play at Arrowhead, sent her a DM, said, hey, I just watched you rock it out at Arrowhead. Now you're going to have to come watch me rock it out at Arrowhead sometime during the football season. So she returns the favor in kind. Maybe there's some extracurriculars prior to this, but she was sitting with his mom, and you gotta think that they're dating. You gotta think there can't be any other way. So it was cool to see. I know we talked a little bit about this. I liked it. This is clearly a different kind of guy for her, a little more macho-y, manly kind of guy. It's not. I think the difference between Travis Kelce and John Mayer are vastly different. So, good for her. Good for him. Good for them. What are your thoughts on it?
I think it's great. I love it. I think it brings more entertainment. And what I loved most about it is I loved when something happened in the game and obviously Fox is going to pan right to her and her reaction, what's going on. Like, you would have thought her and her mom or her and Travis Kelce's mom were like best friends. Like, seemed like this had been going on for well longer than all of us ever realized.
100%.
But the idea that she's yelling, let's fucking go. Like, how do you not love that? Listen, you may not like her, what she stands for, her music, the whole nine, like whatever. Like, put that aside. The idea that this chick who is like the biggest superstar in the world, and this is the one thing I wish I had gotten for my kids and my wife and myself as tickets to that thing, to any part of her concert, like, my God, the fact that she's yelling, let's fucking go, it's right up my alley because I feel like that's all I ever say is let's go. And the fact that she's pounding on the glass, screaming, hollering, and beating up on your dismal Bears, that was like icing on the cake. So I am all in on the New Heights podcast with Jason Kelce and Travis. I'm all in on Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift driving around Missouri after the game on Sunday. I'm all in on all of it. So I knew I had to bring it up. We had to talk about it because every single person and their mother is talking about it. And yes, we are adding to that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Bears are just a doormat, so we can leave my Bears alone out of here. They're a JV team at best right now, and that's that. I saw they have a Super Bowl line. They are plus, I think it's plus 100,000 to win the Super Bowl this year. Vegas,
the Bears?
The Bears are, and they're not even the worst. But Vegas, you know who's worse? The Cardinals were worse, who just beat the undefeated Cowboys yesterday. So again, the script writers for the NFL are doing us all a disservice here on what they got. But Vegas, do us all a favor, take that off the board. It ain't happening. But yeah, it's I think the Bears. If you're an NFL player and you got a new girl and you're playing the Bears, bring her because there's a good chance you're scoring that week. And she was acting like a supportive wife in that, like someone who's into the game. Like she was jumping around, like you said, banging on there. Like her and mom were talking. This did seem like it's been going on for a little bit longer. So, you know, who knows there, but she was certainly into the game, and you know, good for them. You know, if that's what's happening, she's supportive, he's doing his thing, everything's good there. Don't talk about my Bears again.
Till next week.
Till another loss next. You know what? They got the Broncos next week. 0-3 versus 0-3.
Yeah.
So
Can't wait to see the ratings on that game.
It's the game of the week next week.
Yeah, in your house.
WEAK.
All County Exteriors is a third-generation premier exterior home remodeling company celebrating over 40 years in business. In a remodeling world where the average remodeling company only survives in business for only 5 years, All County Exteriors has stood the test of time, providing their customers with top-quality roofing, siding, windows, and doors. They service homeowners and builders with anything from small repairs to large additions. All County Exteriors is not just limited to construction. They have a deep passion for giving back to their community and are charitable supporters of the Make-A-Wish Foundation, the American Cancer Society, Roofs for Troops, and Parents of Autistic Children. If you have planned to do any exterior remodeling, call the experts at All County Exteriors for a free, no-obligation estimate for your project. Just call 732-370-2780 or email them at info@allcountyonline.com. That's 732-370-2780 for All County Exteriors for all your remodeling needs.
All right, let's get into the Ryder Cup, Mike. We said we were going to hold off on some things, and maybe some of these have been kind of overstated or over talked about or over whatever. But let's first start here with kind of like at the beginning here. Let's talk about the snubs first, because again, I think we were going to talk about that. We decided we were going to do a Ryder Cup episode. Let's talk about that. The three big names, Keegan Bradley, Cam Young, Denny McCarthy, are the three big names that got snubbed.
No. There's a fourth.
I saw you add a fourth name, and I said the three big names.
But let me preface it this way.
Okay.
Because I know Bryson just won, and it's very easy to say something about Bryson now because he just won the tournament, even though the picks were made last week or so, or 2 weeks ago, whatever the case is.
Like it's like 4 weeks ago now. It's been a while.
Yeah, but I will say this. Prior to the picks being made, Bryson did win out on live, and he shot 58. So, before we say like, oh, he's the fourth guy out, there is some part of me right now that the dude is playing very good golf. And I think he was playing very good golf before they made the picks. And now he's playing very good golf after the picks. So to me, like, he's got to be included in this conversation of like, man, we all know Bryson's streaky. But when he's on a good streak, dude's hitting bombs, 384-yard par 4 over the green bombs. Hard to say he's not involved.
Who you taking out?
But with that being said, I agree with every selection that was made on the U.S. side.
Okay.
Okay. And I understand the reasoning why about Sam Burns. To me, JT is a lock. I don't care what anybody says. He is a Ryder Cup team boys club guy through and through. To me, like, you can't not pick Justin Thomas. So I'm discounting that. And if you want to argue that point, I'll gladly listen to it.
Mike, I'm 100. We don't need to talk about Justin Thomas again because I'm 100% with you. He's at worst case scenario, he's a great, not good, not oh, he's a nice piece. He's a great teammate, camaraderie, locker room guy who's with his friends. It's only going to bring, I think he's going to be more comfortable with his buddies. Not to mention, he's got a whole bunch of rounds that are high scores, but it's not like he's not getting birdies in those. So the one competition that's going to be tough is in the singles match. But other than that, all of them are, you can rely on your, like, he's going to either, and I think he's better golfer than this, but sure, he could get birdies, birdie, and then get a 10 on a hole. But he has the 4 other birdies that you got to compete with. So he was playing good golf prior to this, except for the blow-ups. And in the Ryder Cup, those blow-ups, like, you could just concede the hole, that's fine. So I think there's that as well. And yeah, so we don't need to talk about JT again because I'm 100% on board. He was a lock, in my opinion, for the Ryder Cup.
And I go to Sam Burns. And I know for me, when I look at this list of who got snubbed, Keegan Bradley is the one guy that got snubbed. I'm not in on Cam Young. I'm not in on Denny McCarthy. And
I had to look up who Denny McCarthy was.
Oh, really? No, he's a great putter. But then maybe the Bryson thing after the fact. But the Sam Burns thing to me was probably the one tricky pick, comparatively speaking, to Keegan Bradley. Because obviously Keegan made it a point to, try to politic his way to get in. He was trying to say the right things. He was jumping on the foreplay pod. He was mentioning things to Rappaport. Like, he was doing his thing. But if I'm Scotty Scheffler and I'm the number one player in the world and my best friend who I play very well with in team events is just on the cusp and could create an argument that he deserves to be in. He won the match play this year.
Yep.
So it's not like he's not,
he was my guy, if you remember. I picked him for the match play.
Yeah.
So
right. So it's not like he doesn't know that format well. Again, so to me, like, I can see the understanding of why Sam Burns is picked.
Yep.
So to me, like, you want to create some controversy with the picks on the American side, like, I don't buy it, I don't see it, and I think this is the best team that we probably could put out there.
I would agree. Again, I think Keegan is really the only snub. I wouldn't have picked Bryson. I think that you just bring in, I think someone like Bryson needs to be playing significantly great golf in order to get himself a captain's pick, because he's not that great locker room guy. He's not in that boys club with everybody else as much as JT or Spieth or Scheffler and Burns. Like, he doesn't do himself any favors in that respect, I don't think. And I think the same thing kind of goes for Keegan. And while Keegan tried by, like you said, going on foreplay, doing all the interviews, I think he did all the right stuff. It's just, it doesn't take away from him not, how do you word it? Like, being away from the game or for so long, or just being so long of not in the club, that now it's just a last ditch effort, and it came up short. And I like Keegan. I got to see him play up close at Liberty National. I followed him for a bunch of holes. I really liked it. That was, going back now 10 years ago maybe. But, I think he's had his fall and then his comeback, which is nice. But again, I don't think he brings enough to the locker room. He would have been a guy that needs to be playing significantly better golf to outweigh what he brings to the locker room, which is a nice guy, I'm sure, and a guy that can pal around with, but he's not best friends with these guys, like Jordan and JT are, like Scotty and Sam Burns are. He's not, and then you add Ricky Fowler into that with all the crews, Max Homa being a dude that everyone wants to hang with. Like, you got to consider that off the course stuff as well to bring in the team camaraderie. And does that outweigh it? And I don't think it does. And I'm with you. I think that Sam Burns was the right pick. I think this is the best team we could have had going forward. And as far as team, an emphasis on team, I think this is the best one the U.S. could throw out there.
Totally agree.
So now, kind of get away from the picks. Let's talk about the course first, I guess. Maybe you know this. How does a course like Marco Simone? How does that get picked in Italy? Because when I think golf, I don't think Italy. Is it like a bidding process like for the World Cup in soccer? Do you know? I legitimately don't know, and I'm asking you if you do.
I mean, I all I understand from how courses get chosen is between like the PGA of America and Ryder Cup Europe. They're each their own organization, and they just take turns to pick host venues depending on whose turn it is to host it. Right. Whether it's the United States, the PGA of America has a major say in it. Mm-hmm. If it's in Europe, the Ryder Cup Europe organization has a major say in it. Like, I don't really know other than that. Like
why they pick that one.
Why they pick that one. Yeah. I don't.
Okay.
I don't think there is a rhyme or reason when it comes to that. I guess formal bids are probably submitted that if somebody wants to do it, and then they just end up figuring out.
And they got to obviously
do they have the facility.
Yeah, the facility, the length, the venue,
infrastructure. Mm-hmm. They got to have probably all that stuff to fit the needs of a shit ton of fans. B, these families, these golfers, their entourage, all the club manufacturers that are there, all the fans. Like, it's not probably something that we could host at our local muni. You might want to submit your bid.
Charleston Springs could probably host it. They got the 2 courses that they could divide people out to. But yeah, you're right. I didn't know if you knew officially what it was. I would imagine that there's some kind of vetting I mean, obviously they know that it's coming to Bethpage in a few years. They know it far out, so there's obviously like a selection process, but I don't know what that is. It just kind of seems funny that it's like it doesn't seem to have a rhyme or reason. I mean, they're just rotating through countries. It was in Paris. Now it's in Rome. Maybe they're just going to big countries, and that's kind of the thing.
Oh,
but
no offense, Rome's not a country. Paris is not a country.
Big
but
cities.
Anyway, like, yes, the Ryder Cup. Yes.
Let me rephrase what I was meaning. Big cities in different countries is what my mind was saying, but my words were not coming out quick enough.
I knew that's what you meant, but I was like, my man, he's definitely mixing up his words right now. But yes, obviously Europe is going to find major cities that can host this major event, and it's the exact same thing with the United States. And I think that's kind of where Bethpage Black fits in. I think it's amazing because it is like New York's course. It is like the premium public golf course in the world.
The People's Country Club.
And I think Marco Simone is going to be set up just how it was when it went to Paris. It's going to be high rough. It's going to be narrow. It's going to be tight because I think they had extremely good success there. I do. Mm-hmm. But I will say this. I do think the team that America had when they went to Paris is a lot different than what they have this year. They went with all bombers to Paris in terms of they all bombed the ball. Tiger, Phil, Bryson, and Dustin, it all fizzled out because they just hit in the rough and they couldn't do anything. Mm-hmm. Whereas this year's team, not only do I think they're a little more strategic, they're not all bombers of the golf ball. Like, they can hit it, but no offense, so can the Europeans. Mm-hmm. Like, Jon Rahm can push the ball out there. Like, Rory can push the ball out there. So it's not like these guys don't hit it far either.
Rory's arguably the best driver of the golf ball on tour. So,
Right. So they can't make it like just a certain way because it would take some advantage away from some of their own. So it'll be a very interesting setup in terms of what they do there.
Yeah, I actually think that in that regard, our teams are very similar between the guys who bomb the ball and the guys who have better short games and the guys who are better putters. I think that there's not a big distinction between the two teams in that regard. Whereas like you said, when we had Tiger, like we were bombing the ball, and those guys were better wedge players, so we lost strokes there. That's just, I think that's what got us. So this team seems, very different. It'd be nice to get 2 in a row. Was that Whistling Straits last time, right? And then,
do you know the last time that we've won in Europe? Do you know the year?
91, 90, it's early 90s. I remember hearing the year, but whatever the year the Ryder Cup was, like 91, 92, 93, something like that.
93, yep.
Yeah.
It's been 30 years.
It's a long time.
30 years.
But again, I think that if you look back at the history of it, we've gone with obviously the best golfers, right? That's what you want to go over with. That should work. But I think for a sport that is normally relied on individual, an event like this, and having a team atmosphere, again, we mentioned Justin Thomas, and having that camaraderie, that locker room, that again, teamness that this comes with, I think it got overlooked for a number of years, and hopefully they figured it out for the last couple and kind of went to, again, what Team Europe had for a number of years. So hopefully that's the case. Kind of back to Marco, did you see any pictures? Have you done any reconnaissance on the course?
It's a big word for you.
It's a reconnaissance. That's a 4-syllable word right there. I don't get.
Yeah, it's a big word for you. And the answer is no. I've done absolutely nothing. I'll be tuning in, just like everybody else will be, Friday morning at 1:30 a.m. when it goes off.
Yeah, that's right about when you wake up. So that's perfect for you.
Listen, I figure when I'm working out at 4:00 in the morning, boom, I'm like 4 or 5 holes in at that point.
Yeah, you love when it's in Europe, because there you go. That's right in your time period.
Listen, let's go. I could have a live Instagram going.
I didn't deep dive any of the course either. I Googled some pictures. I looked at, briefly what's going on the course. It looks nice. I don't know how. Again, I didn't really deep dive, so I don't feel like I have the power to say much about it. It looks fine. I do like the clubhouse. It has that old, that like European, like porcelain roof. What's the like that roof that's got like the half cylinders on it. I like that look. It's a cool look. So it's got a nice looking clubhouse. The course looks nice. It'll obviously be in the best shape a course can be in for an event like this. So we'll see what the Europeans do to trick up the course, so to speak. But we'll see what happens.
Vic Gerard Golf Cars is New Jersey's premier club car distributor, providing sales, service, and rentals to private clients, commercial facilities, and the best courses in the state. As part of Club Car's Black and Gold Elite program, Vic Gerard's provides top-tier performance all year long. They offer Club Car's latest and greatest models, including the new CRU LSV, an urban commercial utility vehicle. They are also an authorized dealer of Timberland low-speed vehicles, which are street legal and come with a plethora of custom accessories and options to stand out from the crowd. Be sure to stop by or give them a call for all your golf car, small utility, or LSV needs. Saturday, October 14th, between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m., they're having their first annual golf car yard sale, where you can purchase a used electric club car, golf car, for the family at wholesale pricing. There will be different models and colors, so be sure to swing by. Delivery options available if you do not have a trailer. Restrictions apply. All while supplies last. Limit 2 vehicles per client.
Have you ever been to a Ryder Cup?
No. I haven't been to many events. There's sometimes
like life events or like PGA Tour golf events?
Both. I've been to them. I can't say I have not been to them. But there is something about me and how I operate that, like, sometimes, and I'd say probably more than sometimes, probably 95% of the time, the best seat is on my damn couch.
That's obvious.
So like
yeah.
going to places and I can't always see everything isn't always high on my list. Now, being able to experience something in person, I understand carries a lot different weight because the people, the environment, like I get all that. But I'm sometimes just a very, very introverted person, so I can kind of just deal with my surroundings and control what I can control.
Yeah, I think it's a great event. I think it's an event you should go see. I honestly, I'm hard pressed. Can you take March Madness and say that it's an event when it goes for a month? Like, I don't know if you can take that. Whereas the Ryder Cup is like 3 straight days. It honestly, in my opinion, it might be the best event in sports. It's amazing. I'm with you that more of the time than not, I'd rather be watching the coverage because they do such a good job. I like hearing the analysis of what's going on. Same thing with football. Like if you go to a football game, you go to an NFL game to watch the Bears lose, you're going to have an experience, to be at the field, to tailgate, to see a game, but you're not going to be watching a game, if that makes sense. You're going to see players on the field, but you're going to miss the intricacies that you could see from TV. TV just gives you a better job on that, and it does for the Ryder Cup as well. That said, I went to the Ryder Cup when it was at Medina, out in Illinois, and man, one of the coolest experiences I've had in my entire life was, I think it was the 17th hole, par 3, over a pond, 100% carry, and on the tee box side was the Americans, and on the green side was the European fans. And as the players are coming up, we're chanting, USA, USA, USA. And then we'd pause, and they would do that European soccer thing where they go, oh, 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 oh. And they're bouncing up and down, and like it was like a wave going in the grandstands behind it. And like that's going on while the players are getting ready to hit. I got goosebumps just thinking about it again. It was the coolest thing to be a part of. And if you are inclined, you should go. It's a great experience. It really was. Obviously, if you could make it to Rome this year, I'm sure you can afford the tickets. But maybe in a couple years, try to get tickets when it's in New York. Let's get down to it, Mike. We kind of did a little bit of recap here. Let's talk about predictions. What are you thinking?
I want you to go first. Because I asked you the other night, who do you pick? And you said, I'll have to wait to the podcast. So knowing that I've asked you first, I think I'm more inclined to ask you again on the podcast, who do you have winning, so that I can hear your response? Because you never asked for mine. So I don't know if you either A, don't care, or B, you already know who my pick is. But I'm dying to know who you have picked.
I'm a little hurt that you don't know who my pick is. I know who your pick is. I'd be shocked if it's not what I think it is. And in that way, I guess really I don't care, because I think I'm 99% sure I know who you're picking. I'm not going against the USA. I'm going for us to, for the first time in 30 years, break the cycle, win on foreign soil, back-to-backs for the first time in maybe even longer than that. I don't know when that occurred, but that's my thinking. I think the captains are great. Zach Johnson is just, like, we've talked about it, a Masters and a U.S. Open, a British Open at St. Andrews. Is that something I could interest you in? It's a pretty good resume. Steve Stricker, Davis Love, Jim Furyk, Freddie Boom Boom. Like, I just think you got guys there, and I guess I should mention the last one, Stuart Sink. But you got a great group of captains there. You have an unbelievable team that is as I've mentioned now 47 times already, the camaraderie, the friendship on and off the course. I think these guys play well together. I think they play, they have not contradictory, corresponding parts to their game that you can put these guys together in. You put guys like Jordan and Justin together, like you just like watching that because it's like two friends going out and playing golf. It's like you and I going to play, and then they're doing it on a professional level. You know, it's cool to see as well. The formats are awesome because you don't always see them, and I think that our guys again have complementary skills in all that. And I don't know if you know this, I'm American, so of course I'm going to root for the Americans. You don't have Ryan Redcoat here.
Well, you have Mike Redcoat.
Oh!
I think...
Oh, Michael.
I know that this is controversial, and I know that it's going against the green, and you're going against everybody at home. But when you dive deep into the data, into the numbers, which again, I obviously am, 30 years is a long time since winning over in Europe. Mm-hmm. And then when you dive deeper into what 30 years looks like.
So we're due.
Yeah, you could say that, but you probably would have said it the past million other times that you did it. But in the past 5 times that it was there, the scores, except one time, legitimately haven't been close. And I don't know if that's because the fans over there, I don't know if it's because the course setup, because every time you look at it, 2018, Europe won by 7 points. You go to 2014, they won by 5 points. The one time it was close, 2010, they won by 1. In 2006, they won by 9 points.
Is this the same team that played in 2010?
It doesn't matter. It's proven that it doesn't matter what team it is, that every time that it goes over there, the Europeans find a way to get it done. And I'm going to continue to buck that trend, and I'm backing it right now. And I'm going to say that the superstar of this Ryder Cup is a major coming out party for Ludwig Aberg. Lock it up. Sign it, seal it. Former Texas Tech guy that's good buddies with our friend Jack Wall. Mm-hmm. But I just think that Ludwig comes out, he gets the job done, plays unbelievable golf, and Europe finds a way to get it done in Rome while eating their pizza with a knife and fork.
Oh, that is honestly shocking news. And I'll ask you this. I love Rory. I love Rombo. Matty Fitz, how can you not like him? And I think Shane Lowry is my spirit animal.
Yeah, I mean, we could go on the list.
Hold on. But right, Victor Hovland's great. But do you trust Tyrrell Hatton? Not Terrell, Tyrrell Hatton? Anyone who pronounces his name like that, I don't trust. Sepp Straka, don't trust him.
Sepp Straka is basically an American.
Right. You listen to him. He's got a southern accent.
Right. So to me, I'm not. Seb's out of it.
They have more guys that I don't trust than on the American side, and that's why I picked the Americans because I trust more of our guys. I trust JT. I trust Jordan. I trust Scotty, Xander. Right. Honestly, the guy that I probably trust the least on the Americans won the British Open this year. Where's the British Open held? I'm sorry, the Open Championship. Where's that held? Europe. And he's the guy that I trust the least. So I think we're deeper. You could, if you wanted to argue with me, I don't know how hard I'd argue that like Rory and Rom are 1 and 2, and then are 1 and 2s. You certainly could, but I think that we have a deeper team all around.
Listen, if Wyndham Clark and Brian Harman don't win majors, they're not even in this conversation. So I look at those two guys specifically, and maybe I might be eating my words next week. I look at them as one-hit wonders, where that one artist puts out that one favorite summer song, and then you never hear of them again.
Right. Still summer, baby. Still summer. They're hitting this.
That's who I feel like those two are.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
No
offense.
I don't disagree there, but I think their one hit is this year. The whole year they're playing well. The
I'm not buying it. But then I say, okay, Jordan Spieth is preoccupied. He just had his second baby. His mind is elsewhere. He's not really into it. No offense, as much as I agree with Justin Thomas being on the team, really hasn't played that well all year. Brooks is over at Liv, just kind of getting mullets left and right, like not really caring what goes on. He's living the life. Like Ricky, okay, the resurgence of Ricky. I know he's your boy. You love him. Great. Okay. Xander's never won anything big. Sam Burns, I get it, won the match play. Like,
is it Olympics?
To me,
is it Olympics not big?
Yeah, listen, it's not because it's like he's not the cream of the crop all the time. Like the big name guys. I mean, frankly, Tiger didn't even play in it when they had it. So to me, it's like if anybody's representing USA,
Tiger was definitely injured.
Right, whatever. Anyway, Scotty's the only one at the end of the day that like, okay, he can flat out golf his ball. But to me,
and he doesn't even stand on the ground. He's so good, he hovers when he hits the ball.
You think about the European side, like, don't tell me there's a hotter golfer right now than Victor Hovland. Victor Hovland. Hotter golfer right now?
No, I'm not trying to argue that. I'm saying our guys are deeper. We have a deeper team is what I would say.
Listen, when Europe wins again, and I'm coming on this podcast and I got a European hat, let's bet a round of golf. A round of golf on the other person. If Europe wins, next time we play, I pick up your tab. If USA wins, I pick up the tab next time we play golf. Deal?
Perfect. Sounds good. I'm in.
Love it. Never had an easier win.
I like that. We'll take that. That'll be a good time. I'll tell you what, it would just be a time where you and I get to play some golf together, which doesn't happen all that often. So that's a good thing to happen.
It's even better when you pay for it.
All right. So guys, that's our wrap up, right? I'm Team USA. Mike is Team Europe for some reason. And that's that, all right? We're going to check back next week. Episode 52, 1 year anniversary next week. So, again, if you're a part-time listener or a some-of-the-time listener, make sure you're checking us out next week for our 1 year. It's going to be a big episode. We'll have some Ryder Cup stuff. We'll do some 1 year stuff that we have. Giveaway coming out on Monday. Check out the Instagram. Stay tuned. We got Brent Studer, Director of Golf, Matita National coming on next. You're going to enjoy this interview. See you next week.
George Wall Ford in Red Bank, New Jersey is family owned and operated, proudly serving New Jersey residents with superior customer service since 1960. George Wall Ford is a 23-time President's Award-winning store, the most prestigious customer satisfaction award a Ford dealer can receive. Stop in the showroom today to see their surplus of different cars, SUVs, trucks, and more, or visit them at www.georgewall.com. There isn't a better place to shop. Just call 732-704-1932 and ask for Jeremy Wall. George Wall Ford in Red Bank for all your car buying needs. So today's guest is one that I know everybody knows. And I think it's one of those people that people have been saying to me, Mike, you got to get this guy on. You got to get this guy on. The stories that he could share are incredible. So since we're a man of the people, today's guest is the Director of Golf at Matita National, Brent Studer. Brent, thank you so much for coming on today's show.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, Brent, excited to have you.
Thank you.
So, Pro, listen, I can't lie. When we have all these different people on and we're talking to them, one of the things that everybody keeps telling me is you got to get Brent Studer on. You got to get Brent Studer on because, the stories that Brent can share. And I said, listen, I'm going to make it happen. I don't know when I'm going to make it happen, but it's kind of fitting that our 1 year anniversary of being a podcast, next week would be 52 straight Wednesdays of putting out an episode, and you're on here on our 51st week. So I think this has kind of come full circle for what a lot of the audience has asked for. So it's a privilege of ours to have a guy like you on here to talk for a few minutes. But
before we get into storytelling time, why don't you give the audience a little bit of a background of you, like kind of like, where you started, kind of, through your days at Manasquan to Matitakunk to where you are now.
Well, first of all, I'm honored to be on the show, and congratulations to all the success you guys have had. It's really cool from a golf pro standpoint to see the history and, amateur pro side, both sides, and just to be able to share it. And I applaud you, and I highly recommend you go after some of the guys I might mention today that are older than me, if you can believe it, and I might even be able to share a little bit more history on New Jersey golf. So with that being said, I was born in Fort Smith, Arkansas. We won't count that. We're just a year old. We moved right to Howell, New Jersey. So, grew up going to the Manasquan Beach and the Point Pleasant Beach, Seaside Heights, all that stuff. A lot of fun. Moved out to Hillsborough can't remember the year, but I was about 10 years old. And that's where I got my first intro into golf. We lived across the street from the Hillsborough Golf Club, little public course. And I remember walking up there one day, walking onto the range and having some old guy yell at me. And all I was trying to do was, kind of figure out if I could pick some golf balls and maybe hit some balls, something like that. So he took me under his wing, gave me a golf lesson. His name was Frank O'Brien. He was a really, really good player, long hitter, 1950s, 60s type pro, a really good guy. We stayed there a couple of years, moved out to Flemington, and then we joined Copper Hill Country Club when I was about 12 or 13 years old. When I was there, a gentleman by the name of Michael Amarelli, one of the really old-time pros in the state of New Jersey. He took me under his wing. He hired me at 13. At the same year, he hired Bobby Nicholson, the head pro. Mike was 59 at the time, and I don't know how old Bobby Nicholson was, but 30 years later, he retired Bobby, and then continued on another 10 or 15 years. Mike lived to 98. One of the coolest, literally coolest, nicest human beings, high quality pro, knew everybody all the way back to the days of Vic Gezzi, and he was on Ben Hogan's staff with the Ben Hogan Company, and played golf with Dow Finsterwald and all those. And I remember the stories. It was amazing. So he was my first intro into the work side of business. I was working in the pro shop. I was picking the range. I was doing carts. I was driving cars, valet at 15 years old. Crazy stuff. But I got a true understanding of the business, and that's where I fell in love with it at Copper Hill Country Club. Really cool stuff. From there, I went to school in Miami of Ohio, 83 to 87 after Hunter and Central, and came out, played the South African Tour and the Florida Mini Tours for a year. That was 87, 88. And then in 89, I got my big break in golf, and I went to work for Essex Fells Country Club under Russ Helwig. And Russ probably is known in the circles as one of the greatest pros ever to come through Jersey in his mentorship, in his ability to lead a golf club, just kind of in every possible way. I'm actually getting a little emotional talking about him because he's such a good guy. And I was very fortunate to work for him, and just, going through this history is pretty cool. From there, in 93, I got my first job at Manasquan River and worked there for 22 years. And then the last 9 over at Matitakunk. All great experiences, all wonderful memberships. Made a ton of great friendships and met a lot of people. And so here we stand today.
Brent, I'd like to jump into where you kind of ended there at your time at Manasquan.
Sure.
I'm sure I got my first opportunity to play over there a couple weeks ago. Chris was nice enough to have us out. It was an incredible day. The course is pristine. It's really a phenomenal place. But I think in all your time there, it seems like you made only one really bad decision, and that's hiring Mike Porro as one of your caddies.
I wouldn't say that. I like the way you said it, though. Mike's family's been longstanding members of the club. I remember his grandfather very well, Larry Porro. Played in many pro-ams with him. Jimmy and Jerry played with those guys a million times. Golf trips. The Porro family goes way back at Manasquan, so big part of their heritage. So I'm even more excited about being here with you guys today because of that.
That is great, and I will say that Mike has talked so highly of you, and Brent Studer name has gone around, not necessarily on the podcast, but via text message. There's a lot of respect going that way as well for you.
Thank you.
So, I mean, Pro, obviously you're playing good golf right now as well. And I know that, things may be a little banged up in some aspects, but you did play very well at the senior match play in early August. You got a little W. Like, kind of how you feeling physically, and how's your game these days?
Anybody listening to this is going to laugh when I tell them about all my injuries, and because that's all I do is walk around and complain until I figure it out and then get another W. But I really have been a little chopped up. I mean, my back, my thumb. I had thumb surgery 17 years ago. HSS, this gentleman, Dr. Weiland, really fixed me up good, and now all of a sudden, 17 years later, it's starting to hurt a little bit. I'm, had to drop out of a couple of events this year, a couple back issues. But bottom line is, I'm pushing 60, so it is what it is. I mean, you hit golf balls for 50 years and play in all these tournaments and play golf with the members, and you do so much repetitive action that eventually it's going to get you. So I've kind of had to reinvent my swing a few times, and I was fortunate enough in the match play to make a few putts and get a few breaks, and I'm very happy that I got another. I wasn't sure I was ever going to win again, so I was beyond excited. So good stuff.
Do you feel like that one? And I don't mean to be doom and gloom here, but as you said, pushing 60 and getting this win, did you feel like this might be the last one for you? Did that make it a little extra special? Did that cross your mind at all, or?
It made it extra special because I had to drop out of 3 or 4 tournaments this year. I couldn't even play. So to even come back and, I was just happy to be teeing it up that week. And then all of a sudden it just kind of fell in place, and I took it easy and didn't swing hard, and, it worked out nice.
What a simple game.
Sometimes the golf gods are smiling at you.
Yeah.
So, Pro, I think one of the cool things about you in terms of obviously I kind of like to do a little research before I hop on here, but, I think when you came over to Manasquan in 93, I still remember the article in the Asbury Park Press about how you qualified for the United States Open that year at Oakmont. It's something for whatever reason just kind of stands out in my mind. And then I also thought it was kind of cool that once you kind of made the transition to Metidaconk, this same year on your first try, you go and qualify for the United States Senior Open. I think those are two pretty remarkable feats when you step back and look at things and say wow, in such a big transition of your career, your job, kind of what pays the bills, still being able to compete at that level. What were those two experiences like?
So that's interesting you say that, because I'm a big believer in what's going on in your life transpires in whatever you do. So, I think getting my first job, I remember winning the assistant championship in New Jersey, and that was my first major. In my mind, it was a major. It was a 72-hole tournament, played really well at Hollywood, and had the interview the following week and got the job. And I think that was a big part of it. And then I immediately got the job and went on to qualify for the U.S. Open at Oakmont. And then fast forward 22 years later, I had no intentions of leaving Manasquan. It was just the opportunity came up, and really unbelievable practice facility, great place to, go to another level in teaching and do something a little different in my career. So I get there and I kind of reinvent myself, and I was starting to hit more golf balls, and all of a sudden, just with that whole same concept came, my game just got a little bit better, and I just went right after it. And I played in that tournament, and then I think I won the senior PGA the following year and the senior match play the following year. Won the regular PGA the same year I won the senior PGA. So it was where did this come from? I felt like I was back. It was amazing. All based on exactly what you just said. I just think I was pumped, and it was time to kind of prove myself again, and it worked. It was the right time, right place. So very fortunate.
So obviously, having similar connections, you and I, and knowing a lot of the same people, I started reaching out to some guys, and I said, listen, I got Studer coming on today. Give me something that's, podcast appropriate And I got some things that may borderline like appropriate. So I'm going to stay away from them because I don't want to get anybody in trouble. Okay. But I will say that I talked to Gaffney extensively about some things. But I think when I think about like your tree and your branch of all the unbelievable assistants that worked under you, I think that's got to be another thing, if not probably one of the biggest things that you hold your hat on and say, like, I've been able to impact so many people. And I mean, you and I could go through the names of Vince Junko and Brad Olson and Brian Gaffney and Chris Dimmick. Like, we could probably keep just rattling names off.
It's like the Bill Parcells coaching tree.
Yeah. Well, listen, I feel like that's got to mean a lot to you.
It's 100%. So you obviously did your research. I think most golf pros want to believe that their playing career really matters. The honest truth is it doesn't. It's how you treat your membership. It's how you treat your employees, what you do for mentoring and teaching and trying to help other people. That's by far what I'm most proud of. It's not that I'm not proud of my wins. I am, big time. But honestly, I mean, between Brad Olson and Pasternak and Mike Kerner and Adam Mahala getting the job at Somerset Hills at a young age, and the list goes on and on. Brad Sumonick, general manager. I mean, I've got three guys now that worked for me that are all general managers in the golf business. So I could also list a couple of things I'm equally as proud of, guys that I sort of convinced that the golf business wasn't right for them. I had a currency trader, Billy Schneider. I moved John Helm into the food industry, and he's doing extremely well with Jersey Mike Subs. And, all those kind of things, they mean way more to me than anything I ever did on my own in golf. The awards, like my wife working in the shop all those years, right, and getting merchandise of the year. That wasn't me. That was her. I mean, in a big way. So you're spot on when you say how important that kind of stuff was to me, and I appreciate you bringing it up.
I think that goes to your point, which you kind of started with, and I forget the gentleman's name, but you said he's in the circles of how he treated memberships. The guy from Essex Fells,
Russ Helwig.
Russ Helwig, right? And I think that by you mentioning him early in the pod, that tells me how much that part of being a golf pro means to you, and then in turn, all these branches that you have off yours, that's a very meaningful point to you, and having such great guys that again, Mike mentioned 5 guys, you mentioned 10 other different guys. Like, that just goes to show that good people breed other good people, and that's clearly what you've done in the golf industry.
You're right on there. You're right on, and I do give a lot of credit to Russ Helwig. I really do, and Mike Emerelli and Bobby Nicholson, who was they were all 3 big time mentors.
And then pro, like, obviously outside of golf as well, like, a lot of the guys that I reached out to said other things along lines of, like, not only is Brent a very good golfer, handles that industry well, but, like, even outside of golf, you've been a very successful person. Like, what would you say to a younger kid, mid-20s, looking to get into this field? Like, what's some advice, as I like to always quote, like a wise old owl? Like, what would you say to that guy, or even young lady for that matter?
So, boy, it's a big subject. I'll see if I can pare it down to a reasonable amount of time.
Nah, listen, we got all the time you need, pal.
So generationally speaking, the golf industry was incredibly difficult. If you didn't have a passion and you weren't in love with the business, it was not right for you, and there was no way you were going to burn out 17-hour days, day after day after day, when you're 15, 16, 17, 18 years old and last, right? That's not how we operate today. Back in my day in the 70s, there was no child labor laws and all that kind of stuff. I mean, they were killing us, but we loved every minute of it. As long as they gave us a beer at the end of the day at 10:30 at night after we closed up the the bag room, we were good with.
It's amazing how so little can go such a long way.
Exactly. Trust me, I remember those days like they were
I would like
yesterday.
one single beer after my 14-hour shift, please.
It was great. And maybe or maybe not, we were underage. I can't remember. But in any case, going forward, the good news is that doesn't happen anymore, right? So it's more, and it might be not just the golf business, it might be the world in general, work-life balance. And so I would say getting into this business, expect work-life balance. That's a big deal. I don't think they want to burn people out. I think they want you to have just as much fun in your family life as you do in your work life. So I would say look forward to that. I would say on the financial side, you're never going to get rich being a golf pro. So understand that right out of the box and really pay attention. There are things in place now that were not in place back then. Golf Retirement Plus, right? Everybody you do business with will put a little tiny bit of money away for you in the long run. Your club does 401ks now that they never used to do back then. There's all ways to put pennies away and dollars away over a long period of time. And the investment gurus like Warren Buffett and those guys, they've proven over and over and over that money put away early goes a long way 35, 40, 45 years later. It doubles, triples, and it just keeps going and going and going. So I think that's an important aspect that's overlooked sometimes. So it's not that you're going to earn a lot of money up front, but you can, with the help of the PGA and your club, you can actually do very well for yourself nowadays. And then the third and final thing I would say is it's great that you're a player. It's great that you're a teacher. It's great that you're an unbelievable merchandiser. I totally get it and I applaud it. But never forget that you're there for the member and their guest to have an enjoyable day at the club. That's the whole deal in a nutshell. Anything outside of that is gravy.
That's some good advice, regardless of what profession you're in. To be dead honest with you.
I kind of want to go into the work-life balance because we've talked to pros on here and even talking off air to some different ones where like the summertime is just we talked to one who mentioned that his wife is a single mother between Memorial Day and Labor Day because he's so busy at the club with putting on events almost every day of the week.
Yep.
How important is a membership in supporting a pro so that they can have that work-life balance?
Oh my God, it's critical. I mean, I was always very fortunate at Essex Fells and Manasquan and Copper Hill and now at Matitaconk. I've always been lucky to have a high IQ golf membership, and they understood how difficult it was. They understood how complicated it was to run tournaments. And I remember we were doing scoreboards at night till 3:00 in the morning because we didn't have computers pumping out the scoreboards and scorecards and dotting. I remember waking up in the middle of the night seeing dots. I mean, it was just crazy, the stuff that we used to have to go through. So, I mean, it's amazing how far the business has come. So that being said, you have to align yourself with a club that understands that and is willing to say it's okay that the pro's not here on his Mondays off. And it's okay that the pro takes Sunday afternoon off to be with his kids and go to the soccer game or whatever. If you don't have a membership like that, something's not right. Something's not right. Either the club is not educated correctly or you're going too far above and beyond and you get out of work-life balance, and that's not healthy either.
And naturally, if you keep bending over backwards, people are going to keep pushing you backwards, and eventually
Correct.
You're going to be doing a handstand, and the club's just going to expect you to be doing handstands then.
100%. And you always have to keep in mind, it's just golf. I tell the young guys that all the time. Listen, work as hard as you can, treat the members as well as you can, but in the end, when the shit hits the fan, it's just golf. It's not somebody's health. It's not their finance. It's not their children. It's just golf. It's okay. And then once the members get educated on that and they understand it and they believe in you as a leader, they're fine with that. Trust me. They don't have any issues with that.
So another person I reached out to told me, I need to ask you about what the number 42 signifies.
Oh boy.
And I said, well, listen, is saying number 42 appropriate? And they said, yes. Just say, I need to know what the number 42 means to you. I have to tell you, I've been asked to ask that question.
That is so funny. All right, it's a really long story, and I'm going to make it really short. So I don't know why. I have absolutely no idea how this number started just entering my brain and my vision. And everyone I'm talking was about 13 years old, 14 years old, sitting in class. The number's coming up everywhere. I'm waking up in the middle of the night. The number is haunting me. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I just don't understand. I couldn't figure it out. So I just keep paying attention to it. I'm like, all right, whatever. And all of a sudden in class, I'll never forget this. I was my head leaning against the wall, thinking about getting to the golf course because I didn't want to be at school. And this kid stands up in the middle of class who I'd never seen before. It was some kind of trivia day. Stands up and says, they put these supercomputers together in Princeton University, blah, blah, blah. And they asked it the meaning of life. And it spit out the number 42. I jumped out of my chair. You got to be kidding me. I've never seen this guy before. How's that possible? And fast forward, it ended I met a person through Manasquan River who, this is crazy, sees the dead and actually has relationships with people who've passed on. And she was with me one day and said, I see somebody sitting next to you. It looks like somebody sports, blah, blah, blah. Looks like you, could be your uncle. And one of my uncles was a Heisman Trophy winner, Dick Kazmaier. My mom is Janice Kazmaier. So
Whoa.
Sure enough, we go online and we look at it, and he's the only number 42 to ever win the Heisman Trophy out of Princeton, like 1950s. So I was freaking out. Now I'm saying, all right, this is too out of control. I had no idea what to do at that point. So long story short, I just said, I can't take it anymore. I started sharing the story with everybody. I offloaded it as much as I could. And now anybody around me, they see the number all the time. So someday we'll all figure out what it means. Right now, I have no idea. But I could tell you a million stories where that number popped. I won a lottery, 4242 in New Jersey. My dad sent me down with getting a haircut. And he's like, go down and pick out a lottery, kid. So I won it. Of course, I go 4242. I give it to him. I go back to college. He sends me 1,000 cash. We probably won 10,000, but he sent me 1,000. And I'm like, all right, that works. Crazy.
Oh, that's incredible.
That's the story behind that. There's no real secret to it. It's just crazy.
And like, so the number 42 having this much, I guess just reverence for the number.
Yep.
When you play golf, do you write it on the golf ball?
Nah, I'm trying to offload it. I don't want to deal with it anymore.
I know, but it sounds like it's a pretty damn lucky number. I might just start writing 42 on it. I have nothing to do with you.
The problem is you might shoot 42. You don't want that number.
Hold on. I'll sign up for 42. You can sign me up. That's 84. I'll sign up for that all day.
Don, you own it now.
It's all yours, buddy. It's all yours. So, Pro, I think when you think back to your days and at Manasquan River, you spent over 20 years there.
Yep.
And now you're, at Metitaconk. Like, what's a story or two from your days at Manasquan that stand out that were just like, you know what, no matter what happens in life, like, I'll never forget that. Whether it's something that you did or a member accomplished or someone showed up. Like, what's something throughout your years there is like a story that you just always go back to?
Oh, God, Mike, there's so many. It's frightening. I would rather put it in the realm of people and experiences as opposed to one single story. Like, just, unbelievable how lucky I was to have a membership with players like Bob Housen and Jerry Barnett and Mr. Hansen. These guys were really, really high quality national level players. And just getting to go out and play golf with them all the time was amazing. I never forget my first day at the club. Or it might have been my second day at the club. Bob comes up to me and says, come on, we're going to go play the back nine. And it was him and it was Jerry Barnett. And I think it might have been Hansen. I'm not sure. I can't remember who the fourth was. And these guys pounded me into the earth. It was crazy. They were making so many birdies. It's like, all right, this is your intro to the club, bro. So the next time we played, which was like a week later, I'm like, that's it, game on. So I went out. I don't know what I shot, but I think it was like 5 under on the front and 2 or 3 under on the back. And I laid the hammer down on him, and I said, "All right, now it's payback time." And I'll never forget that. I was like, "Wow, these guys are legit." It wasn't just coming into a 2 or 3 handicap. These guys could play real golf. So I mean, you know, that was that will always be a huge memory. Not just that story, but just being around those guys all the time, traveling with them, playing in pro members at Pine Valley with Bob Housen and watching him hit phenomenal iron shots. One year I carried him. Next year he carried me. Stuff like that. Just priceless stuff. I mean, history of the game. So.
I think that's one of the things that, when we talked to Chris a couple weeks ago when he was on the podcast, is that's the one thing about Manasquan River is I always thought, like, obviously it's a golf first country club. There's no other amenities that go there. So you either love golf and that's why you're there, or you're kind of born into it. But even to this day, probably even, maybe like during your time as well, like, they're all very good golfers. Like, we could list name upon name that is constantly competing in some state or national tournament. Like, they're golfers. And I think that's to your point about some of the stories there.
No question. I mean, I don't know. Well, I mean, you look at Baltusrol, they have a lot of single digits. You look at a couple of the clubs in New Jersey, Pine Valley has a lot of single digits. That's understandable. Manasquan's sort of under the radar and had and has a ton of single digits. Really good players that understand the game. And I actually think that's a credit to the golf course. Maybe a little bit Robert White. I mean, I'm just starting to get into architecture a little bit, and his design causes you to play every shot in the bag. There's no way you can go around there and hit every shot the same. You're on a side hill, you're on an uphill, you got to bring it in right to left, you got to bring it in left to right. So maybe the golf course, I mean, you look at the Wall Boys and you look at all the good players that have come through there, right? They all just started in the junior clinic and just playing golf, but I think you play that golf course every day, you learn how to play golf. So I'm going to attribute some of it to the golf course itself. I really do.
I think that's 100% true, because it's also, you have two different golf courses there, really, with going up into the woods, and it's much more hilly, and as you said, with the undulations and no flat lies, and then you kind of get to, even 10s, 10, really, you get to 11 is really you kind of make a turn, you get kind of a little bit linksy style, so you get used to playing the two versions of golf as well. That there's no doubt there that's a big attributing factor.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it has a lot to do with the golf course. And also, Manasquan and the membership have embraced, old school traditions. They love the concept of playing golf and, kind of supporting all the pros and supporting junior golf and supporting amateur golf and supporting Christian athletes and supporting. I mean, they're an amazing place. So I'm not, I just remember all of it, and I kudos to them, by the way.
Yeah, which kind of leads to where you are now.
Yep.
Right now, obviously, as you transition from basically the head golf professional to more of a director of golf role there at Matidaconk. What's something in your 8-9 years there that has stood out as like, maybe not like better than Manasquan, but maybe different in terms of like some memory that you may have? Because I think when you compare the golf courses, they are drastically different. In my opinion, I think they are. I mean, I think Matidaconk, I always say this about that place, is if you're not playing good golf, that place will eat you alive. I think there's a little more aesthetically pleasing views at Manasquan. But obviously, when you're talking about the range, it's clearly second to none. But what's something from your perspective, since you see it way more often than we do?
So they're incredibly different properties, and they're two completely different styles of golf. Classic golf is 1900s, early 1900s, and it's every shot in the book, and it's very straightforward and aesthetically pleasing. And then modern golf is a little tricked up, a little more deceptive, a little bit different angles, a little more contours, funky tee boxes, just a completely different style of golf. So from that perspective, it's a completely different club. The membership is very golf driven. So in that respect, there's a lot of similarities. I have actually a lot of dual members that are members of both places. So from that perspective, I mean, it's all about the golf. It's all about supporting the game. It's all about giving back. It's all about, making the place as good as you can make it and making it golf first and everything else second. But then you go to the practice facility and you say, okay, let's go back the opposite direction. Now it's completely different. The old school clubs didn't have practice facilities. They had warm-up ranges. Just go hit 3 shots and go to the tee. Where the new generation, the modern golf courses, it's all about the practice facility, the learning center, short game areas, huge putting greens, entertainment areas like par 3 courses and huge putting concepts where you go up and down these hills. So in that respect, that checks all the boxes for the modern facility, with a classic membership. So I kind of got the best of both there. I mean, really, it's really a cool place, and it's just so different. And to end my career over there versus at Manasquan, it was just a nice change at the right time in my life. I had no desire to leave Manasquan whatsoever. It just, to me, it was like the right timing, and it was try something new and see if we can elevate this place. And, I think we've done a good job in making the golf course better and more playable through Ray Hearn, our architect, and the practice facility, adding the 4-bay learning center and the fitting system. And hopefully we get these new 16 bedrooms up by the clubhouse, and then off to the final step, which is we're trying to push for maybe 3 par 3 holes, maybe 9 par 3 holes, depending. So I've just loved to witness the progress and be part of the progress, which was very different. At Manasquan, it is what it is. You're set in your ways, and there's really no room to create a bigger golf course or a different practice area or any of that stuff. And I applaud them for what they've done. They've done a great job on the golf course. But so this was just a whole different avenue, and that's really how I compare the two.
So, I mean, you were at Manasquan 20 years before.
Yep.
What was it in going to Metidaconk that, as you said, you didn't want to leave, but there was just kind of the right timing? And was it this new challenge that you wanted at this time of your life, or was there anything more than that?
No, that was it. I mean, that was the bottom line. Was I looked at that range, and I wanted to push my teaching end of my career as hard as I could. I wanted to learn more about that part of it. And I looked at that range, and I was like, holy cow, it can't get much better than this. And then, in the 9 years, it actually has gotten better, believe it or not. Just now learning the numbers and the TrackMan and watching the members use the TrackMan and educating them on how to use it. It just felt, it was exactly what I was hoping for. It took a leap of faith, and it turned out to be exactly what I was hoping for, which was just a little different direction than where I'd spent the last 22 years, which was more of a blend, which was more of a little bit of everything, tournament operations and merchandising and, junior clinics and family golf and all that stuff. So it was, just a slightly different avenue. That's all.
So this Mike might know this answer. Obviously, Chris has been there for a while, and it doesn't seem like he's going anywhere from Manasquan. I know you were there for a long time. I don't think they had a ton of pros.
So you had John Cafone in the beginning, Jack Beckett, John Cafone, Wayne Worms, and then me. So you had 4 guys. You literally had 4 guys over the span since 1920.
So that's where I was going.
Chris is 5.
And Chris is 5.
Then Chris is number 5. Yeah.
So you have this this place where, like, people don't ever want to leave it. I can only imagine how tough that decision was for you, with having this new opportunity, but also this place that clearly people love to be at.
It was beyond challenging, that decision, to make that decision. It was many hours with a lot of people, with my wife, my kids, everybody. And honestly, it all came down to the fact that I had so many dual members that it made the transition kind of easy. I didn't feel like I was really leaving. I felt like I was extending and kind of moving to a place where I could still keep in touch with everybody. I can have members over and play golf. I can, I still see him in town. I live in Manasquan. I still see him in town in the restaurants. So it didn't feel like I was leaving. Felt like I was just going to just another step. I don't know, in the overall career.
Gotcha.
I mean, that's a great way to put it, which then kind of also gets to having the Corn Ferry Tour out at your place this year. I mean, I think when we saw that announcement, it was like, wow, of all the places in our area to probably hold a big time event, more or less, that is the spot where you're at now, because I'm sure, maybe minus the local guys between Chris and Jack and Ryan McCormick and maybe even Max Greisman to an extent, but like they probably never seen a range through and through like that. I mean, what was that tournament like for you hosting that thing?
So every single player I talked to was blown away. They would like to have a facility like that every week to hone their game, to work on the TrackMan, to work on their short game, to have a real big tournament challenge type golf course. I would honestly say it was a complete home run for us. And they were very complimentary of the staff. They were very complimentary of the golf course and everything that happened that week. I was only disappointed about one thing, that it rained for 4 straight days before the tournament started. And they got a much softer version of Matita than most people are used to. And that's okay. I mean, that's why they shot the lower scores. If they had it firm and fast, the scores would have been completely different. And there were plenty of guys that still got eaten up at the back end of the field that were like, wow, this place is brutal. So it was enough to give them a taste, you know what I mean? And when they come back next year, hopefully it's firm and fast, and they walk away saying, wow, that is really, that's something special. If you look at the State Open 4 or 5 years ago, the year prior to us hosting it, 17 under won. The year we hosted it, when it was firm and fast and a little bit windy, 4 over won the tournament. So, and some of those guys playing Corn Ferry were playing. So it was a different golf course when it's wet. There's no question about it. Which comment earlier about how difficult the golf course can play compared to Manasquan. It's modern golf. I mean, Robert Trent Jones never made anything easy. Everything's a fall off, everything's a runaway. Your angles are sometimes cantered away from you when you're trying to bring it in right to left. It actually falls the other way. Fairways run that way when you're trying to bring it in the opposite side. It's a really difficult place when it's firm and fast. So we'll see what happens next if we get it the way we want it.
Will you have it back next year?
Yes, we're hosting again next year.
Awesome. Is that breaking news, or is that?
No. It was a 2-year contract. I'll tell you what's breaking news is they were so impressed with the product, and I don't want to say anything that could get us in trouble, but
we can cut it if you want us to.
Well, no, they're possibly looking at seeing if we could be the championship or one of the championship venues versus one of the regular venues, because
that'd be sweet.
Style golf, which would be later in the year, be like late September, early October.
Yeah, kind of like where they are right now, to be honest with you.
Which plays into firm and fast for us, which is great.
It does.
No doubt.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
We'll see what happens.
What was exactly your role in helping set up the Corn Ferry event? Did they just come in and take over, or did they ask for your advice on things? Like, what was whether it be day to day or like on the overhaul there?
It was a really good combination. I mean, we had tons of meetings early between the Magnet sponsorship, all the gentlemen and the ladies from that committee, as well as the Corn Ferry Tour. And, we met at the club with Derek and Tyler. Derek's the general manager, Tyler's the head pro, our board of directors. And we just kind of laid the groundwork down, and then they kept coming back for site visits. We just kept going back and forth until they kind of got a handle on who was doing what. And like I said before, and this is no reflection on me, I really had nothing to do with it. It was more Derek and Tyler and their entire staffs, inside and outside. They were blown away by the level of service that we provided for them, that we helped them run the type of operation that they wanted to run. So I felt proud about that, from the standpoint that it wasn't me, it was all the guys that are there doing the job. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I still say to this day, the 27th hole there, is far and away one of the most difficult holes that I can ever think of in the area.
It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal.
I was gonna ask you what your favorite hole is, Brent, because I know Mike loves the 27th hole.
Well,
I alys bring it up because I
does.
feel like it always like ruins your 9 or ruins your round.
Yeah, 27th is the hardest. I'll give you that. Favorite, I still am partial to number 7, where it goes straight out and then turns the corner, and you come walking around the corner. It's a beautiful fairway bunker, and then you look down, you got water on the left, you got the backdrop above it that goes up into the pine trees, and you have this peanut-shaped Robert Trent Jones green that's like brutally difficult, has a spine in the middle of it. But aesthetically, it's just gorgeous. I mean, I think it's a really cool hole.
There you go. I mean, listen, I love that place. I'll tell you the one thing that scares me to death about Metidaconk, and I say this to Ryan all the time, or if we ever end up playing at certain spots, like I will not go in the woods. It's between ticks and chiggers. Like I want nothing to do with looking for balls in those woods. I will gladly take a 2-stroke penalty than go in there and deal with that craziness.
I don't blame you. I think if we get you guys out there in October, you don't have to worry about that stuff, because we get the fescue down a little bit. You know, we cut it down to a reasonable height. The chiggers are gone, the ticks are gone, and you will be able to find your golf ball. So you guys actually could enjoy yourselves.
So I'll tell you. So Brent, I did get to play it one time, but it's now many years ago. And Mike and I have been going back and forth with like, is there a time limit on having your like greatest courses you've played? But it's been so long since I've played Metidaconk that I don't remember any of the holes. The only one I remember is the 27th, but that's only because I camped out there at the Corn Ferry Tour event. So I don't remember playing any of them.
All right, well, consider this your open invitation. And if you don't take me up on it, I blame you.
Mike, October?
Listen, I'll never say no to that place.
Let's go.
I get lost at that place. I'll get lost at that place. I'll be honest with you, Pro. Another person that we've been talking to a lot, as at least, you know, I try to get K-Mac on the show too, because I don't think there's a better teaching pro or guy that's able to really dissect the golf swing.
Yep.
I mean, he's got to be the next big thing. Don't you agree?
Yeah, he's awesome. I mean, he really understands the 3 styles of swing: over, neutral, and under, and he's putting it in his own perspective. He's great, and his delivery, you know.
Yeah, well, I think that's what sells a lot of people.
Yeah,
it's hard to say anything when he has that accent. You're like, I just believe you no matter what.
Everybody loves the Irish brogue. I mean, it's part of golf. It's part of the.
No doubt. I know. No doubt. Everybody I talk to, everybody that goes and takes a lesson from, they're like, I don't really know if I'm getting the full-on truth or if I fully believe him, but whatever he says, it's beyond believable.
Yeah, it definitely works. But Ryan, back to Ryan playing number 27. I want to see that on video.
Oh, listen, so do I. I want ball and hole, pro, from the back tees.
Hey, I want back tee. I want ball and hole, and I want to see every shot.
Okay.
Me too.
I'll tell you what. I promise you, you have us out there. I will record that one for you. Hole 27.
I'll make you a deal. You ready? I'll make you a deal. You make par. You make par. I will dive in the pond on 27.
Pro. Net par?
No.
Or gross?
No. Par. Straight up
Is
par.
it my 27th hole?
It can be your first hole. You can take it any way you want it.
I don't want it there either. 9 sounds good to me. That's awesome. Again, Brett, I would certainly take up that opportunity.
Pro, I'm normally rooting for the double bogey. I'm normally rooting for the anger to come out. Like, I love seeing him
He wants to
up.
see the Hulk come out.
Now
He's not going to like me when I'm angry.
I got to see the par.
I love it. I gave you my word.
Seeing your ass dive in that pond would go viral between all the people that know you. They would be loving life. You would never live that down, dude.
Put it out there. I put it out there.
So Pro, kind of like, as we wrap this up, there's a couple questions that we like to ask guys.
Sure.
And obviously being someone who's been around the state for quite some time, you know some of the good spots to go to. I don't know how familiar you may be with the public side of New Jersey golf, but if you had to recommend a public and a private spot to somebody that if they got invited or they had an opportunity to go play, they go do that, We like to say you're not allowed to include Matita in there, as well as Pine Valley, because the odds that people actually get invited out there are really slim to none. Even though I did get out there at the end of August and it's absolutely phenomenal, but
It is.
I want to hear your two choices.
It is a great place. There's one that kind of rides the line. It keeps getting bought, and now it's private again. Was public. Atlantic City Country Club. I'm in love with. I mean, the Frasers did a great job there way back, and I just think it's a phenomenal piece of property, and they do a great job there. So that obviously now is private, but I got to give you one more that not enough people talk about, and that's Essex County Country Club. I absolutely love McDonald, Rayner, Banks, that style design, that 1910, 1920, 1930 era was so good, and that golf course is so spectacular. So those are kind of my two secret private that I would say you have to go see. But everybody knows that, Hollywood and Ridgewood and Somerset Hills and, Plainfield, they're great. Everybody knows that, right? But not enough people talk about Essex County and Atlantic City, in my opinion.
That's one. Mike and I talk about Atlantic City quite a bit. That's one where I literally just talked the other day. I regret not playing Atlantic City when it was public. I really do, because you hear so many great things about it.
It really has the old school vibe. That ball on the ground, that ball moves in all different directions, and there's a big ground game there. It's not all aerial attack, and it's a really fun place to play golf. I really enjoy the architecture of that golf course. Really do. And the wind and everything.
And do you have a public?
Public's tough.
It's normally a tricky question for a lot of guys.
It's so hard because we live in Monmouth County. I mean, you've got so many good ones right here between Charleston and Howell and Lakewood, and I mean, you just got some fun, nice golf courses.
Yeah.
I mean, so I don't know. I mean, public. My last round, I'm going to Pebble Beach. I don't care if I have to fly across the country. And I know everybody's like, oh, but it's, it's $500, whatever. I don't care what it costs. Pebble Beach is by far the greatest place on earth.
Is it better than Bandon?
It's just different. I mean, I personally love Seashore. I love Royal County Down, and I love, St. Andrews, and I love anything that's on the water. I absolutely put above everything else, because that's my preference, not because it's a better golf course, right? So all those holes on the water at Pebble just blow me away. So if I'm going public, that's where I'm going, but that's obviously not Jersey golf. So
we can get on the plane.
Yeah.
We can gladly take a plane ride with you out there. You tell us when, we're hopping on with
if you guys are going, I'm meeting you there.
There's a few guys at Matita that got private jets. Maybe they'll give us a ride.
Absolutely. I won't name any names on this one because they'll get phone calls.
No. Yeah.
So the other question that we kind of like ending these with is, golfers are kind of quirky by nature, whether it's, I've been told to adjust my wording, it's habits or what have you. But as someone who plays golf at such a high level for so long over the years, is there something that you've developed that you would call like a quirk or a habit before you play in any kind of competition? Whether it's, we've had some people say they don't tie their shoes till the first tee, or all the golf balls need to be odd numbers, or, whatever. What are some things that you have for you?
So that's interesting. Later in my career, I won more tournaments after I learned this. I used to warm up a lot. I used to hit a lot of golf balls, and I'd have good success or bad success. I mean, just depending on the day. And then one time I showed up late for a tournament and played really well. And then 2 weeks later, by chance, I got a crazy traffic jam and showed up late again and played really well again. 0 shots, right to the tee. And so I started saying, that's strange, man. What's going on here? So from that point forward, I figured out I play much better golf if I hit 1 or 2 or 3 chip shots, maybe one hybrid, and go right to the tee. Because I have to find it on the golf course versus find it on the range, hit 30 balls, 40 balls, 50 balls, wait 20 minutes, go to the range and find it again. And now it's a different ball flight than I found on the range. So I refuse to hit golf balls before I tee off. I will literally go right to the tee, no shots.
Wow.
That's just something that,
I can dig that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird. I know it's strange, but I just play much better golf if I don't hit any golf balls. It's kind of bizarre.
Yeah, I can.
And I
like
can't
that.
give you some of the secrets of my younger days between Advil and, maybe a beer here and there, stuff like that. I'll leave that one alone.
That's good. We can keep that in the vault. And then obviously, we talk New Jersey golf. It's a New Jersey podcast.
Yep.
We'd be remiss if we didn't ask you your opinion on the greatest debate in New Jersey history. And that is, what is the name of the particular breakfast meat that goes on a sandwich?
I don't care what you call it. The bottom line is it's Taylor ham or pork roll. I love them both, and both phenomenal. I think one of them comes out of Trenton, doesn't it? But the bottom line is
You gotta pick one. You're going to the store. What are you ordering?
I go pork roll, egg, and cheese. Sorry, that's
There
what
we
That's
go.
what I'm talking about. That's all we needed. That's all we needed. That's how we put the cherry on top, bro. That's how we put the cherry on top here. We're not letting you live down the middle.
Mike and I rate interviews by that question alone.
That's fine.
Yeah, listen.
What are
You can't play down the middle here.
We both knew you were a pork roll guy, being that you said you're from
through and through.
Manasquan, and I'm living in, so I'm a pork roll guy as well.
Perfect. I was trying to play the middle road. See, typical golf pro.
Yeah, don't
That
play the middle
was,
road.
yeah.
I know. Yeah, well, listen, we're not here to play both sides. You're going to state your opinion. You're going to stick to your gun.
Right,
I
say
love
we're right, just like your Parkway exits. Say it proud, shout it from the mountaintops.
I love it. I love it. Good stuff, man. You guys are awesome.
I can't thank you enough for coming on here. I know I reached out way back when, and you're down in Florida, and finally getting a chance to get you on the show. And I know a lot of people have texted me, called me, asked me, like, when are you getting Studer on? And, I'm glad that we were able to deliver for the people.
That's great, man. I'm very happy to be part of it, and I love what you guys are doing. And maybe a year from now we'll do it again, and maybe we'll talk about different subjects.
That'd be awesome, and we'll see you in October.
Good deal. Whenever you're ready. And I will have bathing suit on under my golf pants.
We're taking a fucking picture of that, boy.
Can't wait.
I love
Stay,
it.
boys.
All right, bro.
Brent, thanks
I'll
so
see you,
much. This
pal.
was awesome.
Anytime. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Take care.